Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. And it is part 4 of Secrets of the Apprentice. Oh my word, do you know what that means? Okay, so I just recorded part 3 like an hour ago. Do you know how weird that it is to look into a camera screen and see yourself back at yourself and tell yourself a story? That is a bizarre thing to do. But apparently I am okay at doing that. And on the Apprentice episodes, it's extra hard because that was a tender time for me. It was weird to be famous. And let me be very fucking clear. When you were on network television in 2006, 20 years ago, which is when I was on The Apprentice, immediately you were famous. Immediately people knew who you were. We were like in People magazine and Us magazine, which I know doesn't mean anything to people now, but I feel like it's a lot of Gen Xers listening, so you know what I am saying. Immediately, you look like that chick from The Apprentice. Oh my God, is that chick from The Apprentice? Is that her? Is that her? I was walking through a Chili's in Yuma, Arizona on a road trip from San Diego to Sedona, because I've been back and forth for 22 years between San Diego and Sedona. And I ordered in my like black bean burger to go, vegetarian. And I heard people like, no, it can't possibly be. And this woman says to her husband or boyfriend or whatever, what the fuck would she be doing in a Chili's in Yuma? That is not her. And he's like, no, I swear it's her. And he had his back to me when I was walking down the hall to use the restroom, and she was facing forward. And so I looked right at her, but I overheard the conversation. I just looked right at her and didn't give any indication of anything and just walked past and used the restroom because I really had to go to the restroom. And then on my way out, I was walking really fast, so it looked like I was going to walk by him, but then I stopped and I looked at him and I was like, no, you're right. That's me. And I looked at her and I went, that's right. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing at Chili's in Yuma? I'm like, I love their black bean burger. And I'm driving to Sedona for a couple days. And they're like, oh, we love you on the show, this and that. And I explained, exchanged like 30 seconds of pleasantries or whatever and said hi. And nobody had cell phones. There was no way to like grab a picture or something like that. But so like the weird thing that's very unique to that time period, but now is really way more common now, again, that's coming back around again, is that you could have all of a sudden be famous. I mean, legitimately famous, 20 million people watching that show every week, or 9 million, or however the ratings had dropped, but it was millions of people. It was everywhere every flight I would get on, somebody would ask. And I was flying 2-3 times a week. Every place that I would go, it was starting to come up by episode 3, once the show did air, where I just was getting recognized in public. And I was so recognizable because I'm holding this up for the people on YouTube. If you're on audio only, I'm just holding up a magazine cover from the Learning Annex that I was on the cover of. And I had like bright red micro bangs, bright blue eyes, and this beautiful like dark auburn, almost cherry coke colored hair. And every single day I would get like way dressed up, like all of the way dressed up. And so for people that knew me then and hadn't seen me till now, they would be shocked at how dressed down I am now. But for people who only have known me now, like a bunch of my employees at the Sticker Junkie office are watching The Apprentice now that it is live on Amazon Prime, my season 5 of The Apprentice. And they're like, holy shit, you're a fucking fashionista. And like my girlfriends, my Gen X girlfriends that are watching, they're calling me, they're like, you are so hot. I'm like, no, I didn't know it then. I really, really didn't. I really, really didn't. I was a runway model when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old, just in like, local shows in LA and San Diego. And when you would go to castings, all that I would hear was every part of my physical appearance that was bad and wrong and not good. And that I would never be like a photographic model because I wasn't photogenic. And that this was wrong with me and that was wrong with me. Like that was the experience of a Gen X woman who was modeling. And the only reason that I was able to walk in the shows is because I had good body posture and a really confident, strong, good walk. And I was the right size. I was a sample size. Casting directors would tell me that to my face. You'll never make it. Like, don't even try in photographs because you don't photograph well. Translating to me to mean like, you're just not that pretty. I'm like, awesome, thanks. I'm 14. That was great to hear. Later in my life, I sort of slipped more and more away from just like getting dressed up every day, especially once I was retired and I'm like living in Sedona and just wearing the uniform, right? Black tank top, black yoga pants, sometimes a sweatshirt. If you go in my closet, I have like 5 of the same exact sweatshirt. Just like don't have to think very much, throw something on. So I have like 3 or 4 outfits that I just wear the same outfit every day. And I have like 6 pairs of the same exact jeans. So I just look the same every day. If I'm wearing jeans, it's Freddie's jeans. If I'm wearing yoga pants, it's my old Lululemon yoga pants that I've had forever. You know, it's just like, I'm just like not very fashionista. So Brian Burling, who is my business partner, my chief operations officer over at Sticker Junkie, he was at Jinx, which owned the licensing rights on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Walking Dead, and my company, Delinquent, worked with Jinx when I owned the sales rights on the merchandise for Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead, Blizzard Gaming, all of Blizzard Gaming, etc. And I used to show up like a looking like a runway model every day and everywhere I went. So every time that I went into Jinx, I had like the best outfits and perfect hair, perfect everything. So when he came back in and all of a sudden I'm like, every day I'm still losing weight. I still have like maybe 20 more pounds to lose. And I'm showing, I've just hit a little bit of a plateau. And I'm showing up and I'm wearing a black tank top that is not like even the best fit of a black tank top because it's old. So it's like stretched out and like old yoga pants that I've had forever or the same exact pair of jeans, just not being a fashionista. A lot of days, no makeup, most days, probably no makeup. And I keep telling him, don't worry, there's going to be a transformation because I'm going to be on TV and I'm just going to want as I'm like looking at myself as I'm recording podcasts or as I own the production company that the TV show is going to run through, Power Chick Mafia Entertainment. And so I'm going to be very actively involved with producing the documentary series that I'm pitching, Sticker Wars, and the TV show, The Making of a Billionaire. Like I will be the one that's doing a lot of the hands-on, like keep this, cut this type stuff. I keep promising him like, oh, I'm going to be more of a fashionista. But now that I'm going to Milken Institute next week, mommy's going shopping this week. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was just looking online. I'm like, I'm going to go to Alice and Olivia and like, where else should I go? I don't really know for cool, modern, like businessy, like formal, like stuff I would wear to a conference that's like cooler. It's like the Burning Man meets business conference look. As I was doing that, I came back to Sedona and I'm going through a bunch of my old clothes that I used to have and seeing like what fits, what feels good, what looks good, what's coming back around now that's current again, because I gave most of the clothes that I bought for The Apprentice away because they were a little bit too formal for what I need. But I still have some of my favorite pieces and I still have my favorite Santa Fe fashion pieces that I used to wear. And I don't remember if it was Mads or Hayden or Jenny or May Fox or Nick Pigeon or one of my girlfriends, but there was a couple, or Wendy, I think it might have been Wendy at my office. There's been a few different people as I'm letting them know like, oh, The Apprentice is back on the air and I'm doing this little podcast series on my show around it. And they're like, oh, you should do a fashion review. So as I'm digging through my clothes on the episodes of The Apprentice that I'm doing in here, I'm pulling out some of my favorite outfits from the time. So this is a custom fitted Johnny Was blazer from like 2004, 2005. And for those of you on audio only, it's like this bright turquoise corduroy blazer with this beautiful embellishments in it from the company Johnny Was, which is of course still around. And I had a great relationship with them back then because I hired this woman that used to be my assistant, Ari, to do some PR stuff for me during this time. And so she reached out to Johnny Was. She's like, Andrea's a huge fan and we're sending like 75 boxes from Andrea's favorite companies to different things. And they like gave her 75 Johnny Was t-shirts to distribute to whoever because I was sending stuff to the Oprah show and to all these different places to get booked so I could talk about my business and take advantage of having just been on this show because NBC was not running PR for us. This is the fucking behind the scenes. So we had to like create our own PR around the show because you guys, social media didn't exist really, not like it does now. This is 2006. Like people were kind of starting to use Facebook, but wasn't like everybody in MySpace, I feel like was sort of not anymore a thing, but Facebook was like baby early. And Twitter always was a weird thing to me because I'm like, it's so short. It's like 150. I don't want to say sentences to people. And it felt not like my thing ever, that one. And Instagram, of course, wasn't around yet or anything. So while you would be like kind of famous in person, nobody knew who you were like online, or nobody had access to you like online. Seeing it is an Apprentice episode, I am going to have a little bit of red wine. So our teeth are going to get purple together if you're watching on YouTube and maybe you want to have a glass of wine. As I'm going down this journey and getting back into life and coming out of retirement, going to these conferences, I came to Sedona to grab all my clothes and thought it would be fun to do a fashion review. And it's making me really excited to go shopping in San Diego next week and like update my fashion. So you guys are going to be along with that journey too, because I have just recommitted myself a couple weeks ago to like getting right back into yoga and taking longer hikes and walks with Rico. And I have a great gym in my building and I've been lifting weights really consistently. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's get that last 20 pounds taken off and just get like the best wardrobe. But when I tell you I do not know how to dress myself anymore, I swear to God, I don't. So I'm going to have to like kind of relearn what the current things are. And I don't know what the brands are anymore to go to or the best stores. So please drop it in the comment if you have a suggestion for a place that's like classy, sophisticated, not fucking Prada and Dolce & Gabbana and stuff, but like Alice plus Olivia looked cool. Johnny still is cool. From now on, I'm excited to start getting dressed up in the morning again and putting on makeup and like getting my hair done on a regular basis because it's been a long time since I've been habituated into that. So you guys, I shared with you at the end of the last episode that like they followed me into the bathroom and I'm crying about feeling really trapped in that space. Made it seem like I was crying because my friend who would have to get fired in order for me to win the show did in fact get fired. Not only did she get fired, she was one that I thought would be in the final four. So I was like, oh, okay, well, the competition is getting out early because she is smart and strong and successful and knowledgeable and attractive. I mean, she would be such serious competition for winning this. So when she got out number 2, I was like, whoa, that was crazy. Like, this works different than I think, but you know, whatever. After I cried that night over feeling trapped, I really did just come to a reconciliation. I was like, okay, you're here now though. So too fucking bad that you don't want to be here. Too fucking bad that you feel a little bit lied to about the premise of what the show was. You legitimately did not see the show. This is nobody's fault but your own. You're here now. And this actually is really fun. So just fucking soak it up and enjoy it, even though I was not a fan of most of the other people on this show, but I'm sure they all were great. And I was so aloof and so cold and so withdrawn because I did interview everyone on my team and I did find out what their credentials were, and they didn't really have much to lose. Not then, not at that. Now they do. Now I'm sure every single one of them is super successful now. But they were like in their early 20s, do you know? So like just for one, I was one of the older people that was there at 32. So of course I had done more. I was like 10 years older than one of the guys that was in the finals. And I didn't go to college. So I had been hustling hard and working and self-employed for my entire adult life. And I was a multi-millionaire. There was a day when I was on The Apprentice, because you used to get your orders by fax because I'm 1,000 years old. And we got like $500,000 worth of orders from Hot Topic that day. And they would have to run them by me so that I could sign off and like make sure everything was done properly so that the order would go through and, you know, talk to my staff and just make sure that everybody was on it to get it handled while I was gone. And the people that were on my team like didn't even have high enough positions to warrant themselves having an assistant at their job from my understanding of it, because I asked all of them that they didn't have teams that they were running at that time. So that was my understanding of it. And I was like, you know, maybe one of them had an assistant, I don't know, but they were very early in their careers and I was not. Stacy, who had gotten fired, was the only other person that was like my age, my level of experience, like had done a million things already in her life, had worked in myriad different areas of law, was working on this book, had worked in commercial real estate, just brilliant, smart, fast, funny, fucking funny, the whole thing. You could tell we remained friends. We don't talk to each other a ton, but like when we do, it's like, hey, how are you doing? So when she goes, I'm like, fuck, I don't even really have an ally anymore, because she would have been my ride or die on that team. We would have done some things together. And now all of a sudden she's gone. I'm like, fuck, man. We go into task number 3. And I sort of am feeling like I'm going to be the project manager. Like if I'm not made the project manager, then I'm for sure volunteering, because in that boardroom, I think I forgot to say this. Shoot, I did in the previous episode. Pepe said about me to Donald Trump at the end of episode 2. Well, the problem with Andrea is she always trumps the project manager. Donald is like, oh, she does she? As if like, why the fuck would you think that that is a bad thing to say about her? Because like I said, Pepe did become a congressperson. It was like the most politician style answer. Because he was trying to say like, she was overstepping her boundaries and kind of stepping over me and was like usurping some things so people maybe weren't listening to me as much, which probably was completely fucking true. That sounds exactly like me. That sounds just right. When we're gonna win a business competition, I'm like, yes, very smart, super good. He became a fucking senator and shit. He's a smart, good guy who was a lawyer, who did not have a team, where he had launched like maybe 8 products by then, and like every task sort of was like launching a new product. Donald looked at him sort of like, did you just say she trumped the project manager? So like you didn't hold your own space and she was able to just trump you. And he made some kind of joke about it. And then I said something very clever, which I don't recall at all what it was. I do need to rewatch the episodes. I know that I do. You guys, it's hard. It's hard for me to go back and watch myself on TV from 20 years ago, but I am going to do it. Maybe. Haven't yet. So I'm just telling this all from memory from 20 years ago. I do have a wicked memory. My business partner, Dan Caldwell from Tap Out, who I just texted him, was like, hey, we do have to have you on the show. He's like, yes, I will be on the show. He called it my relationship killer. He's like, oh, that's your relationship killer, that memory. Because I can like literally remember sentence per sentence different conversations from a long time ago, or really weird minute details that people should not be able to remember from 20 years ago. I just can't recall it. It's not eidetic, but it's not super far away from that. And so anyway, if I get some facts mixed up, then that would just be normal. This is 20 years later and I haven't rewatched it, but man, do I remember a lot of it when I start to think about it. And I'd had a stalker after I was on the show. That's why I never have been on dating apps. I went on one dating app once. I met one guy who's a fucking fantastic guy. He knows who he is. And one of my girlfriends had started Hinge. She's in Summit. Like, I don't know her super well, but she's in Summit. And so they gave a free, go try out Hinge thing at Summit. And I did, and met this really great guy that we dated for 3 months or something. But I never got back on dating apps really. I kind of would put it on there, and then I went on Raya, but they didn't approve me because I'm not famous anymore. And they put me in a waiting period, and then during that waiting period I met someone, and so I took myself off of there. It just made me be super private. The discomfort that I had with people approaching me as if they understood something about me from seeing me for a couple minutes on a TV show. So I'm going to tell you guys how it really works. And I know that I'm off in the weeds, and that's because I smoked a little weed and I'm drinking a little wine. I've only had 3 sips, so it's not the wine. If you're new to the podcast, this is kind of normal because it's a concept that I just came up with last week called my Gen X girlfriends, where we just leave little random, really long voice notes to each other where you can follow someone who's doing an interesting thing like I'm doing during the day, and just hear the recordings along the way of their day. And a couple of my girlfriends have started doing that with me. And it's it feels like home to me because it feels like talking to my girlfriends on the phone for 5 hours a night. So we do that on Voxer. So you're going to get the real deal, vulnerable Andrea, a little bit of wine, still going to be coherent in what I say. But because of the stalker, and because right after The Apprentice, a couple years later, in the economic crash, very similar to our current economic time, I very quickly was very deeply in debt. In 2008, 2009, I weathered a lot of that part of the recession, but I had just done 2 huge things in 2 companies that cost lots of all of the dollars, and both of them did not work in kind of quick succession from each other. It was a dicey time for me, for sure. That was right after I was on The Apprentice, and so all of a sudden I had all of this fame, but all of a sudden I didn't have as much liquid cash, for sure, not at all. And I had assets in my companies, but I wasn't selling my companies anytime soon. So all of a sudden I couldn't afford the luxury of physical privacy in the way that I could when I lived on 20 acres in the middle of nowhere. All of a sudden I was splitting my time between San Diego and Sedona, and there's just not the same level of privacy in San Diego unless you have, $30 million to spend on that kind of land, and San Diego is expensive. Maybe not if you're in the outskirts, 2 or 3 or 4 million, but all of a sudden I'm suddenly in a very more public situation. And I really felt for a lot of the women that were on the show, because I wasn't the only person that had a stalker or had dudes that were I totally know you. And I'm you super don't, you very much do not. at all whatsoever, and I don't want to know you. But there was no physical barrier of safety. I actually got, because I was planning to do the fashion review, I brought out some of the very things I used to wear all the time. I used to wear this wedding ring all of the time. And like, it needs to be cleaned so it doesn't look, I guess it does kind of look real on the camera still, but it doesn't look real up close. It looks very much as a fake diamond up close now. But when I first got it, for those of you on audio only, I popped on a wedding ring. It was like a whole different world. And so it was way easier for the perception of all men just to think that I was married. And if there was ever a guy that I was interested in, I would just go, oh, that's not real. That's just I just have that because I don't want men hitting on me all day, which I know how that sounds, but like it felt really dangerous for just like men to, because some men, if you do not want to date them, do not have a very good reaction to that. And I do watch a lot of true crime. Not a great combination. And I did just have a stalker. And about this time, about episode 3, which is the episode that we're talking about right now, that's right about when the stalker became interested. And yikes. It's like a lot of it is painful for me to rewatch back. And because of having been called out on that show so often, like, hey, Andrea, so you're a self-made multimillionaire. What do you think? Well, do you know what? My family did not know how successful I was because we don't fucking talk about that. We would talk about like, wow, I got my shirts in this store, or wow, like I got to go to this fun conference, but there was no dollars talk. So did I have a nice house? I had a beautiful house, a beautiful house. Did I have a beautiful wardrobe? I am wearing it today. And I can't even tell you how many different kinds of like beautiful necklaces with tons of jade and turquoise and all of the things that I had because I live part-time in Santa Fe and part-time in Sedona. And if you don't have enough turquoise jewelry, they will just fucking kick you out if you don't hit their quota. I had like all these things, but nobody knew how much they cost. They didn't know if I was mortgaged up to my eyeballs and just like bought this house, which was in the middle of fucking nowhere. So it was super cheap by comparison to a house wherever the cities that they were living in. Like this one time, my Aunt Beth, who I love so much, she could not have been more supportive to me through my all of my life. And my Aunt Barb, same thing. And my mom, obviously. I've told you that story, same thing. So my Aunt Beth came to Sedona, Arizona when I had just moved here. And I had this big house that I was running the businesses out of because it was like 3,800 square feet. And I lived in one side, and this woman that worked with me, who was a good friend of mine, lived in the other side of these 2 wings of a house. And then the offices were in the middle, and I had like a 3-car garage, which was where all of the warehouse space was. And so I originally had planned to get a separate warehouse, but no, I didn't need one because I had this huge house. So my Aunt Beth, when she's leaving this house, I had never furnished it because it was just like a functional place for me. And I was wealthy when she did this, but we just never had talked about money. But I didn't look wealthy because my house wasn't furnished, and I had been there probably for like 6 months or a year. We had like a kitchen set, but we didn't really use it as like a house. We used it as a place we slept and then got up and worked a lot. And so Beth, like, I don't have a microwave either, and I don't have a TV. And Beth loves a microwave and she loves the TV just like everybody else who's normal, who's just everyone but me. And so she thought I didn't have a TV and didn't have a microwave because I couldn't afford them. And so she like hands me $100 as she's like walking out the door, and I'm like, no, Beth, come on, you're good. Yeah, but she's done well, and she's like, no, here, I want you to have this, just go. And I said, well, I don't have a microwave because I don't want a microwave though. She's like, well, you just get whatever you want for your house, because I just was building these businesses and stuff. So anyway, I know that I'm off in the weeds because it's a wine episode, which is why someone commented, maybe you should do an Apprentice episode without alcohol or weed. And I'm like, cool. So I did one, and I'm going to watch them next to each other, the episode 3 that you guys maybe just watched, and then part 4, which you're watching right now, and decide which one I like better. And also, I might not be able to tell the stories without a little alcohol right now. I know how that sounds, but facts. So let's get all of the way back out of the weeds and talk about The Apprentice. But it is a vulnerable thing for me to share because I had all the feels. I really did, and it made me want to hide from the world. And it didn't just make me want to hide from the world. I did hide from the world for a long time. For a long time, probably after I was on The Apprentice, probably for 5 or 6 or 7 years. I was just like super private. No, maybe 5 years until I got into Summit, which was like 2010. For 5 years, I was just like low key, low down, not talking to people, barely on social, just all of the things. So that's why I drink a little bit of wine when I'm on The Apprentice episodes. So I had a feeling that Trump was going to make me the project manager which in fact he did. Or I don't know if he asked for a volunteer or if he volunteered me, but either way, when I came in, he did the same fucking thing that he did the one before. But I think that this time, if I recall correctly, this time it actually made it on the air, because obviously a lot more happens than what you see on the air. That's why I don't like it when people think they know me from TV, because I'm like, look, there's 18 contestants, there's Donald, there's the judges, there's the task, which is going to have corporate sponsors. So there's 5 things. And on an hour-long TV show, there was 18 minutes of commercials back then, which is insane. That was the time that we would like time it and run to the refrigerator to get snacks. Feeling me? Feeling me, Gen X? So there's 42 minutes in a TV show. And so 7 of those at least are going to be dedicated to Donald, right? It's his show. And he's using it as, I mean, fucking, he's the president now, right? So he's using it as a marketing tool that like could never have been imagined how good of a marketing tool it would be. And then there's got to be like 7 minutes that are going to be dedicated to the corporate sponsors, because they're fucking paying for the episode, right? I don't know exactly how that works, but I'm pretty sure that's not free, but maybe it was, who the fuck knows. So if it's like a task with like Post cereal or Gillette or fucking Arby's, which I did write a jingle for Arby's, coming up on a future episode, whatever it is, there's going to be 7 minutes probably dedicated to like the delivery of the task, what the corporate sponsor is doing, and then integrations with their C team and their judges and like how everything is working, right? This is going to be 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. Then there's probably going to be 7 minutes allocated to the contestants. So when there's like 16 of us, it's like 30 seconds of airtime or 2 minutes of airtime in the beginning until the contestants sort of build their own story arc and become a larger part of the episode, because there's also going to be like 7 minutes for the boardroom and 7 minutes for the reward. So that's your 42 minutes broken up in these 7 minute segments, like about. And so there's nobody's getting to know who you are through that, because I'm like, okay, cool. So there's 7 minutes divided by like 18 contestants who are on there. So you have seen me for 45 seconds and made a judgment call. Come on now. And then even in bigger, longer episodes where I get like a ton of airtime is like 4 minutes. I'm like, I am a whole ass human being who has lived a long life. And 4 minutes, you can make me look any kind of way in 4 minutes. You can make me look like the kindest, most generous, amazing person on planet Earth in 4 minutes, because I am that. Sometimes part of me is that. You can make me look like a fucking asshole in 4 minutes, because I am that too sometimes. Or you can make me look very smart and very business savvy, which they certainly did. That is mostly what they did. Or you can make me look any kind of way, because that is not a lot of time to paint an impression of a whole entire, very fully well-rounded human being with a dearth of experience on life. And so it was hard for me to be compartmentalized into this box, because we didn't have what we have right now with this creator economy. Thanks, Andy Stack, for helping create that. We're still chitty-chatting about the futures there with the TV show on YouTube. Although we're also talking to other places now too, just fucking FYI. So with the creator economy, we have formats like this, where if you're in it with me, it's because you like me and you want to know all the details. And as much as someone who's not in their 50s and like watching this comeback story in real time would cut it down to make it sexier and savvier, which we absolutely will do with like 15-minute recaps of the show, etc. My Gen X girlies, like, you got me. So suffice it to say, for all of those reasons, that is why we drink wine on the Apprentice episodes and maybe smoke a little weed. I'm in Arizona, it's legal. So episode 3 of The Apprentice. I am project manager, and Donald Trump starts with that same shit. Again, making everybody hate me, but he was like, none of you are going to be able to beat her. Like, what even are we doing here? Why even are we still filming this show? Like, she has so much experience, because every time that he would talk to me, I would say something smart, funny, clever, whatever. And I had started all of these companies, and I'm smart enough that when he's having little opportunities, I just drop in one other thing. Like, oh yeah, we have this thing at Hot Topic. Yeah, we're doing about 20 million in annual revenue. Excuse me though, what? Why are you on a reality TV show? I didn't realize that. I thought everybody was gonna be that. I didn't even realize how unusual that was. So I was living so far beneath my means, as evidenced by my aunt coming in and being like, why don't you have furniture? Here's $100. Just spend it on anything you want. Like, why are you sitting on crates? I'm like, because we don't even care about that. So Donald is all of the impressed. And especially after we had that like sort of one-on-one at that reward dinner, he's just like, excuse me though, what? And you started this, and you started this, and you started this. I do sound like a pathological liar. I'm like, yeah. No, spiritual book company. It's on Oprah. Yeah. Like all of the things. Just got the sales rights on Blizzard Gaming. And so in 2005, yeah, that didn't suck at all, even a little bit. So Donald Trump makes me project manager, or I volunteer. I really don't recall. But did that whole thing about like, she's a self-made multi-millionaire. Like, you guys cannot compete with her. But he also just is fucking with them. He doesn't really care. He's removed from this whole process. He barely even knows what's going on there at this point because he's just living his life. Like, everyone thinks this is the last season, including Donald. He has no idea to know how this is going to come out. And that then there's going to be Celebrity Apprentice and all the fucking things. You know what I mean? And so he is phoning it in at this point. And I would challenge him to say anything different than that, because he was like living his best life. He was showing up like in a tuxedo at a boardroom because he was gonna like run off to the Met Gala right after. I mean, fucking come on. He barely even knew the names of the people that he was talking to. And so the fact that I was bright and shiny and interesting and was just way older than my fellow contestants, and not just like in only age years, but like just in years of experience of entrepreneurship and coming from a military background, and just like being able to fucking chat around with the boys and just be like, oh, hey, Dad was a submarine sailor, and just get along with the guy immediately and ask him about all his permitting and what the fuck is happening with this and that. And he liked me straight away, of course, because I knew a very lot about him, and I asked him a very lot about himself and his projects. And then I did have clever, smart ideas. Did you ever think about asking this way or whatever? Yeah, of course we did. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense that we did. What about this? Oh, that's actually kind of a good idea. I'm like, every now and again I pull an ace. And just being funny and charming. And I was really beautiful, even though I was not at all his type of beautiful. He did hit on another woman in my season who was represented by Gloria Allred in the harassment cases, but there was nothing like that with me. He just thought I was funny and smart and made him laugh. But he didn't care at all whether he kept me around or not, obviously. So he makes me the project manager on the Chevy Tahoe challenge. Well, it just so happens that Jack, my ex at this point, who I was just really good friends with, who just like our lives just matched each other. He drove, you guessed it, a Chevy Tahoe. So I actually really liked Chevy Tahoes a lot. And I knew a lot about them because I like to know a lot about everything that's around me. So again, just another weird, like, it's weird that I knew everything in the Costco challenge about that credit card processor, but I knew like everything about Chevy Tahoe. And we road tripped in that car like all the time. And so then they wanted to come up with like a slogan for the Tahoe. And I'm like, world-class slogan writer, $400 million sold in merchandise. And now this is going to be a two-parter because I'm all the way off in the weeds, but fucking this is good. And it's not just The Apprentice, because if you're here just to see a recap of The Apprentice, cool. But my people, my first 1,000 fanatic fans are here because you like hearing my stories. And I have been trying to figure out a way to work this story of me being a world-class slogan writer in, and wine seems like the right way. So it's like just you and me are at a wine bar. If you're having a glass, have a glass. If not, I understand. So I am such a good slogan writer, which is why I wrote the slogan for the Chevy Tahoe, that during the lockdowns, everybody was just trying to be helpful, right? Come with me to the lockdowns of 2020, because that's where we're going next on this little escapade into Andrea Lake 101, which is going to have flares of The Apprentice, but flares of just getting to know me, because I don't want you just to come watch The Apprentice episodes. If that's all you want, we're going to have a 15-minute shorter version, and that's going to be your speed. You're already going to have turned this off if that's what you want. So in 2020, everybody's trying to be helpful. So all of a sudden, because of the communities that I am in, and because of these little salons that I don't have the permission to say this guy's name, but I'm going to try and get it because he's so cool. And he set up my favorite thing in the lockdowns. Like when Black Lives Matter happened, that week we had a salon with, I sound like an asshole when I say it that way, salon. I don't know how people fucking say it, with the NAACP president. When we were talking about COVID updates, we were getting updates from like the former head of the CDC. So fucking directly from the source, types of information with very cool, very fucking fascinating, interesting people on these like 200-person salons that he would have when everybody was just locked in their houses and couldn't go out. And so I heard about the pandemic really early because one of my friends is a PhD epidemiologist and that I trust very much, and called me and said, I wanted to let you get through the holidays on December 27th of 2019, and said, there's a pandemic coming and it's a real one. And this is a person that works with the CDC. And I weirdly know like several people who have worked with the CDC, and I know lots of scientists because a lot of the events that I go to have like entrepreneurs, scientists, tech people, entertainers, like anybody at the top of their field, but any politicians, but at any field, journalists, just the top of any field, professors, etc. So he called me because he knows how much I love Christmas. And you all know I'm not religious, but it looks like Santa Claus threw up in my house at Christmas. I love Christmas so much, so much. And he was like, he's a Jewish guy. He's like, I wanted you to be able to get through Christmas because I know you love it, but like a pandemic's coming. This is what you need. You need, 3 months of food in your house and this much cash stores, and like, just take care of yourself, make sure your people are taken care of, etc. And so I believed him because people who work with and research fucking weaponized anthrax, okay, they're not scared. They don't scare easy. They're not afraid of diseases. So if he calls me and he's afraid of a coronavirus, and I know other coronaviruses, mad cow's disease and fucking the bird flu and like swine flu, human beings do not have the same immune system as a pig or a rat or a cat, just FYI, which is why the bubonic plague was a thing. So there is no coronavirus in the history of coronaviruses that human beings can develop an immunity to. That's just simply, it's just not how, we're not going to like develop in one generation of people to have the immune system of a chicken. So not a great idea to get exposed to an animal-borne disease, as we have seen several times through the population correction events in human history. So let's do not that. So I take this super fucking seriously when I hear that this is going to happen. So regardless of whatever anybody's views are on anything with any of them, I'm not saying a word about what happened next. But when in the very early days, everybody wanted to be helpful with COVID, I wanted to be all of the helpful. Who didn't? Before everything that happened next and all of the things that I'm not going to get into because this is not that podcast. So all of a sudden, in the early days of COVID, there are all of these Zoom calls that are going around where it's like a couple hundred people from the CDC, from all of the different agencies around the world that study infectious diseases. Every continent had their top scientists that were researching it, their virologists, their epidemiologists, all of the fucking people, right? I'm a little bit buzzed right now, but it had all of the scientists that were studying infectious disease. And there were also all of the doctors on the ground in the hot spots. So it was doctors from there was a huge outbreak in Italy. I think it was in Milan. So there were doctors in Italy, doctors in Seattle, Washington, where there was a big outbreak, doctors in New York, where there was a big outbreak, and there was a bunch of places in South America, Argentina. It was Canada. I mean, it was the biggest sharing of global knowledge. I have the goosebumps over my whole body because it was all these scientists that were in Sweden or Israel or wherever that they were researching this, giving their best information. So I had a weirdly front row seat to this. And there were 2 marketers. I don't even remember the other women that was on there. I really do not. But I was one of the marketers that they called and were like, hey, you're a slogan writer. We think that you can help because we want to distribute information that tells people to stay in their house during the COVIDs, during the lockdowns, because we don't know what's going to happen. And first round responders are dying, all of the things. And we don't know a lot about this, but we know that it's the most viral thing that we've ever seen in the history of virology and epidemiology disease. And so let's do not that with the highest mortality rate that's going to overwhelm hospitals. People actually really do need to stay in their houses if we have any hope of containing this, was what everybody was hearing and saying in the early days of the lockdown. And so in February, maybe mid-February of 2020, they said, hey, can you come up with some thing to distribute that information widely that will very likely go viral, and we'll use that as a slogan that gets propagated to people to explain why they need to stay in their house. And I was like, cool. I created such little gem t-shirts as I used to have superhuman powers, but my therapist took them away. I'm bad with names. Can I just call you dumbass? I'm losing faith in humanity, one person at a time. Everyone wants that shirt. Don't hold strong opinions about things you don't understand. Everybody buys that shirt and they mean that about the opposite person. It's amazing. All these different t-shirts that had gone viral over the years and different slogans that I had done for different things over the years led me to this culmination point where I know all these scientists, and they asked me to come on this call in early 2020 to help to craft the messaging that would go out to the American public about disease. I'm not joking. Me being a slogan writer comes up on the Apprentice episodes too, even though I know we're way off in the weeds and we're on a 2-parter, so I'm just telling the whole last story now. The slogan that they did come up with, oh my God, please show it for our people here who are on YouTube, was flatten the curve. Okay? That's what the CDC came out with. Stop it right now. I am a quant trader. I understand compounding returns and quantitative mathematics and bonding curves. Maybe more than 99.8% of the society, right? I know what it means for something to hit a bonding curve. That's why I trade in the system that I trade. And that's why I confidently am like, oh yeah, I can turn, $200 into $1 million over the course of 10 years. Yeah, easy. No problemo. I really understand compounding returns. I really understand what it looks like when you hit a bonding curve. What that actually means is that something goes past the point where it's like 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. Within like 38 turns, you're at like 5 million = 10 million. It's so fast when something hits a rate of virality. Everybody understands that now more because of like a viral video on YouTube, but the same fucking thing is true with disease. So if something can propagate that fast, all of a sudden everybody's sick, everyone, which means all of the hospitals are full, which means nobody gets proper attention. And people who need long-term care, no, because now all of a sudden you're on a sort of a wartime disease thing. This is why this happened this way. We're like, cool, you're super sick and you need that bed, but you're going to need that bed basically until you die. And this person is super fucking sick because they have some nasty ass COVID. And if they get that ventilator and they're 27, they're going to live, and you're 65. And your body is failing you in every way. And if we save this 27-year-old, they're going to have 40 more years. So I'm super sorry, but we need that ventilator. That is all of a sudden the choice that hospitals were left with. And because I knew people, MDs, surgeons who were in the hospitals, who were PhD epidemiologists, also stepping up and explaining to me really deeply what it actually means when a human being, when a nurse or a doctor has to make that decision of, does your mom die? Because this 27-year-old has a whole life ahead of her, and the answer is yes. That is the answer. If there's only so many beds, you have to choose who gets them. That is fucking horrible. And that's a situation that a lot of doctors were in with this disease that had this very high comorbidity rate. And I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing personal first fucking hand experiences of people who like just lost a 22-year-old patient, or they themselves had COVID and thought they might die because nobody knew what worked. And this is why we have to stay inside. And they said, can you express that to the American people? And whoever submitted the flatten the curve thing submitted that. That's what they went with. Nay, my friends. What did I come up with as a world-class slogan writer? Yeah, good question. Don't kill grandma. For anybody that's watching on YouTube, you just saw this. And Kieran, she's amazingly talented. If you need a brand or logo, I'm not doing a commercial. I'm not being paid to say this. She designed the Power Chick Mafia logo. I called her up and I was like, I have this slogan, don't kill grandma. Can you use the same font that we used on the Power Chick Mafia logo and do a little fucking super cute sketch of grandma? And she did. And just like everybody else, she did that for free, just like I did the slogan for free. And instead of like, let's get to the heart of it and explain to American people why they should stay inside, because a doctor needs to make a choice of who gets that ventilator. Some young person who's for fucking sure every single time gonna get that ventilator, which there is a finite amount of, over grandma. Grandma's always gonna die in that situation. So I bought don'tkillgrandma.com, don'tkillgrandpa.com. And then I also, because people are assholes, bought dokillgrandma.com and dokillgrandpa.com. And then Karen did that super cute graphic, and we'll definitely shout out her branding company because she's obviously, I love her branding. She did the Power Chick Mafia logo. And that is the story of me being a world-class slogan writer. So like that level of like, oh, shit's happening, and you get on the right call where you're potentially going to be the slogan for the CDC. And like, oh, you've sold $400 million worth of products, because I know funny shit when I see it in good slogans and artwork and all of the stuff. And now that we're rolling out a bunch of new artwork at stickerjunkie.com with our sticker towers, girl, we have the best stuff. We submit to Hot Topic again tomorrow. I get on the Tahoe task, and I'm the project manager. So guess what slogan I came up with that they then used? Because why wouldn't they? I'm pretty fucking good at this, was nature refined. And then I did this whole beautiful write-up and stuff about it, just to convey that like, this is a luxury brand. This is the brand that the millionaire dude Jack had. This truck. He could have any truck. He could have any mode of transportation that he wanted. And he chose the Chevy Tahoe, and he was their literal exact actual target audience. He was the actual person that they wanted to buy that truck, and he actually did buy that truck. And I traveled all over the place in that and felt like I was in the lap of luxury. And my G-Wagon, quite fucking frankly, was built by the Austrians, who, by the fucking way, do not care about like sitting back in luxury as much as they do about utility and functionality. So this fucking luxury Tahoe that Jack had, come on, I knew how to sell this. I knew a lot how to sell this because I liked this vehicle. And my very recently ex-boyfriend, who I adored, that's what he chose. So it seemed to me like the best vehicle that a guy like him could choose, and I could sell that to people. Okay, guys, that does it for part 4, Secrets of the Apprentice. And guess what? You lucky ducks, we are dropping part 5, Secrets of the Apprentice, also today. That's right, you get 2 episodes on this fabulous Friday. We're going to drop them both today. Sit back, relax, enjoy, and tuck into part 5. Spoiler alert, I do get a little buzz towards the end. I might repeat the story a little bit, but it's pretty funny, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for joining me. We will see you just in 1 second. Just go press play on the next episode. We'll see you right over there on Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire, Secrets of the Apprentice.